The Laws of Power, 9 Strategic Ways to Gain Power as a Man. Anyone who has read Robert Greene's bestseller, The 48 Laws of Power, will tell you that it has changed the way they think, act, and make decisions forever. The laws are simple, straightforward, and easy to understand, but implementing them can be quite difficult. That's where Genesis Self comes in here. We'll explain how you can use the laws to your advantage in order to gain power and take control of your life. This isn't just good advice, it's practical, actionable steps that you can start using today. Let's get started. Law 1. Plan all the way to the end. Strategy is about thinking before you act. You have to anticipate how the world might change and how your opponents will react. The more detailed your plan, the better it will be for you in the long run. And it's hard for people to take advantage of you if they don't know what you're up to. As Sun Tzu said, appear weak when you are strong, and strong when you are weak. It's important not just to think about what your next move should be, but also what that move could lead to down the road. Remember, strategy is like chess. You want to put yourself into a position where you can checkmate your opponent, which means taking away their ability to do anything at all. A good strategy starts with understanding who your opponent is and how they'll react. Ask yourself what their motivation is. If they want power themselves, then there's always room for negotiation, but never give them everything. If they want money or glory or something else entirely, then offering them something tangible may work better than promises, especially if you can offer it so early in the game that there isn't much risk on their part yet. Knowing where you stand relative to others lets you play out different scenarios in advance so that by making one decision now, you'll reap rewards later on down the line. One useful tactic is putting some of your forces near potential enemy territory. That way, if they start to encroach on your land, you'll have time to respond without giving them any warning. Another technique is using disinformation, the artful spread of false information to create confusion among your foes. Simply convincing an enemy that he has been betrayed from within his own ranks can cause him to weaken himself because he won't trust his allies anymore and look for traitors everywhere. Sending false intelligence back to the other side is a risky move, but it's great if you manage to pull it off. For example, say someone knows your enemy's plans but refuses to tell you. You need a plausible reason for why this person would refuse to speak out against your enemy, so maybe you make up evidence suggesting that this person was disloyal or incompetent before. With this trump card in hand, you might just convince this person to speak out against your enemies once again. Law 2. Get others to play with the cards that you deal. A good way to get people playing with the cards you've dealt is through reverse psychology. This is when you act like you don't want something, but then in reality you do. Reverse psychology can be applied by asking someone for help with something, but then rejecting their offer because they're not the best person for the job or that it's too much work for them. This will make them want it more and try harder in order to prove themselves. It may also make them feel guilty about turning down your request in the first place, which makes it harder for them to say no again if you ask later on. If you need an example of this technique in action, just watch any episode of Antiques Roadshow. The expert host often goes out of his way to discourage would-be buyers who are looking for anything rare and valuable. Example, I think it might have come from a junk shop. He'll even tell these people outright that they should give up looking altogether, but in doing so he's really egging them on. This psychological ploy works because our brain naturally wants what we can't have. The impulse grows all the stronger when we see someone else have what we desire and experience emotional pain as a result. Example, feeling humiliated by rejection. We crave pleasure and avoid pain instinctively, so this type of negative reinforcement will compel people to keep trying until they win, or at least convince themselves that what they want isn't worth pursuing after all. The same theory applies to getting kids to clean their room. By saying you can't play with your toys and using anger instead of encouragement, parents teach children that being denied pleasurable activities leads only to feelings of frustration and depression. For this reason, most kids will prefer never touching those toys again rather than risk another punishment. By contrast, parents who find creative ways for children to earn back access, I bet you'd like to pick out a book, end up having far less strife in their home life over the long term. They're teaching kids that rewards and punishments go hand in hand, while making chores seem like fun challenges. As such, they won't be nearly as resistant to cleaning their room in the future. Law 3. Work on the hearts and minds of others. If you want to gain power, it's important that you work on the hearts and minds of others. This may seem like an odd way to gain power at first, but it will really pay off in the long run. You can do this by making your goals their goals, which has the effect of making them feel empowered and needed. Once they are invested in your success, they will want what's best for you, and that means supporting you and giving you feedback. The more they support you, the more they'll be willing to do things for you. Here are some other ways to win people over. 1. Be generous with praise. Whenever someone does something well or deserves recognition, make sure to take time out of your day to let them know. It doesn't need to be anything fancy, even just a quick good job is enough. When you give someone positive reinforcement, you not only help motivate them, but also show how much they matter, which makes it easier for you to persuade them later on. 2. Be loyal when times get tough. No one wants to be around someone who gets backstabbed easily. If you're going through a rough patch, don't drag everyone else down with you. Instead, use it as an opportunity to rebuild relationships and strengthen connections by being understanding of everyone's point of view. Even if you don't agree, try to see things from their perspective. It'll go a long way. 3. Be flexible when needed. One thing I learned from my dad was that no plan ever goes according to plan. As long as you have done all the necessary preparation, you should be ready for any curveball thrown your way. After all, flexibility creates opportunity, something no power-hungry man would want to miss out on. 4. Build up their ego by telling them what makes them unique. Everyone wants to feel unique and special. If you want people on your side, it's important that you play into that need. People are more likely to do things for you when they know you appreciate them. So if there is something specific about that person that makes them who they are, whether it's their uniqueness or their accomplishments, make sure to acknowledge it at least once in every interaction. They'll be more willing to return the favor in ways that matter most. 5. Remember small details about your interactions with people. Taking note of the little things not only shows you care, but also ensures that you won't forget any information. When building up rapport with someone, it's best to focus on 3 aspects of each conversation. How did they look? How did they sound? What were they wearing? Simply paying attention to these 3 pieces of information allows you to remember everything better and therefore build a stronger connection. 6. Find common ground with people who disagree with you. Sometimes, you may find yourself in a heated debate. In those moments, it's important that you find some sort of common ground so that the other party feels comfortable with you. For example, if they believe to be pro-life while you believe to be pro-choice, then talk about how both sides of the argument carry pros and cons rather than debating which is right. It opens up new possibilities for discussion and helps to create trust between 2 parties. Law 4. Always say less than necessary. One of the most important things to do when you want power is always say less than necessary. You don't want people to think they can get information out of you by asking too many questions or by making big deals out of small things. The more you say, the less in control you are. In other words, don't talk so much that people think they know what's going on inside your head. Be brief and be firm. Speak only about the essential points, nothing else. There are 2 reasons for this law. First, if you speak too little, then people will assume that you're either hiding something or there's nothing to hide and will take what you say at face value without digging deeper into the subject matter. Secondly, if someone asks you a question and you respond with just 1 sentence, it means they'll have to go back over their notes later trying to find anything new and relevant in your answer while forgetting all the rest, which leaves them feeling like they've wasted their time because there was nothing worthwhile said during the interview. By speaking briefly, you make them feel like they're not getting anywhere and cause them to walk away frustrated. It also makes you seem very powerful because people are left guessing and wondering why you're being so secretive. Even though they won't say anything, people will subconsciously try to pry answers out of you through conversation. When it comes to talking about yourself, never give up any information that isn't required. After all, the less people know about you, the better off you'll be. Law 5. Get others to do the work for you. This law is about making people work for you, and it's also about not doing anything yourself. To get people to do the work for you, you have to take your time and find the right person who would be able to do what you need done. If there are multiple options, think carefully about which one will be the most reliable, can accomplish the task quickly, or has skills that will help the situation or provide what you need. Once that person is found, delegate the task without any hesitation and provide clear instructions on what needs to be done. Follow up with this person throughout their work so they know that they are appreciated and understood. One way to keep tabs on them is by checking in every hour and asking questions such as, "What are you working on now?" Or, "Have you seen any progress?" in order to show that you care about their progress. It's important to give them recognition when they're done, even if the job wasn't done well. Let them know how much of a difference they made for you and your company/job/workday. You should also offer some kind of reward like an increase in pay or some time off. If they don't seem satisfied with the reward, then try to negotiate something different, an extra break during work hours, extended lunches, more flexible working hours, etc. Whatever works best for them. There's no set rule on what is necessary to motivate someone, because everyone values different things differently. What matters the most is being able to communicate effectively with each individual and learning what makes them happy or frustrated. Keep communication lines open. Law 6. Make people come to you. You must not fight too often with one enemy, or you will teach him all your tricks. Napoleon Bonaparte. If you have ever been on a customer service call with an angry and aggressive customer, you know how intimidating it can be and how easy it is for that person to get the best of you. You are left feeling helpless and defeated, but this doesn't have to happen if you follow the sixth law and make people come to you. It is critical that you don't give them any opportunity to attack you, because if they do, they'll catch on fast and start attacking even more ferociously. It's up to you to control the conversation, so when someone becomes verbally abusive on the phone, politely inform them that this type of behavior will result in their being blocked from speaking with anyone at your company. They'll most likely apologize immediately and retreat back into calmness. Afterward, make sure to document what happened so future representatives are prepared for similar situations. Remember that no matter how many times you've had to deal with rude customers in the past, there is always room for improvement. Learn from every interaction and put yourself in the shoes of others to gain empathy, which will help you keep your cool under pressure. Your patience level might never be perfect, but it won't hurt to work on improving it. You should also try using phrases like "let me see" instead of "hold on" when things get intense. Saying "let me see" tells the other person that you are actively thinking about the problem and considering their side without giving away anything specific about what is happening behind the scenes. These little changes will go a long way toward keeping you composed during stressful moments. When someone is calling us out on the phone, we should first acknowledge their feelings by saying "I understand" or "I hear you." Then explain calmly why it isn't appropriate to use that kind of language and ask them to tone down their voice. If they still refuse to cooperate, just hang up. Don't engage in further conversations with people who are yelling and losing composure, because once they're wound up like that, it's very hard for them to relax again. Sometimes they will escalate until they explode, then afterward revert back to normalcy. It may seem impossible to find peace within such chaos, but the best thing you can do is remain calm and walk away from the situation before it escalates. In some cases, making people come to you means staying on the line with them until they reach a point where nothing else needs to be said, and then ending the conversation gracefully. A few years ago, my dad was working at his full-time job in retail management when he was unexpectedly transferred to another store location due to restructuring reasons. Since he didn't want his new store's employees to lose trust in him after only 1 week, he made himself available whenever his old coworkers needed guidance or assistance through training sessions. This way, he could maintain his reputation and earn their respect. It wasn't easy for him to transition from a manager to a team member, but he knew it was the right decision and that it would pay off in the end. Within months of starting at his new location, his former boss reached out to offer him his old position back because they realized they couldn't do it without him. Nowadays, he is back in charge of the store and has never been happier. One day, when I asked what he learned from this experience, he told me that loyalty pays off. And although going against your nature can be tough sometimes, you should be confident enough in yourself to know when something is worth fighting for. Law 7. Win through actions, not words. By the time you figured out what the other person has done and why, it's too late. Your opponent will have already won. Always be on your guard, and never trust them when they say they're on your side. Most people are out for themselves, and they'll do anything to achieve their goals. They will work with you when it benefits them, but then stab you in the back in an instant if there is something better. If you want power over others, don't tell them what you're doing, show them instead. Get physical. Touch them before they can touch you. Make noise first so that by the time your opponent does make noise, everyone else is distracted enough not to listen. Act quickly and decisively so that no one can catch up to what you're doing or how long it took you to do it. Move in close before anyone can find fault in what you are doing. Be ready to strike at any moment and take advantage of any weakness while it lasts. It will soon disappear if given time to mend itself. Pay attention, be vigilant, anticipate obstacles, and stay alert. Never relax because your success depends on it. Keep track of all the changes around you, like a hawk watching its prey. Think ahead of time about everything that might happen and come up with countermeasures beforehand. Look beyond surface appearances and know who people really are. And always remember, strength comes from knowledge of both self and surroundings. Law 8. Use selective honesty to disarm your victim. One way you can take control over someone is through selective honesty. One example would be saying something like, "I'll be honest with you, I think your idea has some merit, and if it was executed well, I could see it being successful. But the thing is that we're not interested in doing anything with it at this time." By throwing in some honesty, your victim will feel better about the situation because they know where they stand. They won't feel as though they are being lied to or manipulated, which will make them more agreeable to what you want them to do or what you have proposed. The more open and honest you are with people, the less manipulative tactics you need to use on them. It may seem counterintuitive, but the truth is often more persuasive than lies. In order for an audience to trust your message, you must show that you are trustworthy. When people find out that you lied to them, then they question everything else that comes out of your mouth and try to poke holes in every word you say. If they find one hole, then all credibility is lost because they don't believe anything else coming out of your mouth either. You must show others how trustworthy you are by being honest with them from the beginning so there is no confusion or deception later on down the line. For example, let's say you go into a job interview and tell the interviewer that you have 10 years of experience when really you only have 5. What happens when they call your bluff? Your entire interview crumbles down around your ears and you lose any chance of getting hired for the job. So why risk such an outcome by lying to begin with? Be honest from the get-go and avoid situations where lies might come back to haunt you later on in life. Law 9. Crush your enemy totally. Crush your enemy totally. One may be tempted to show him mercy, but the wise man will take care not to leave him any means with which he might strike back at you. Crush him in such a way that his descendants are left without hope. This is the only way of ensuring one's safety and making one's influence last forever. Do not let yourself be misled by people who advocate moderation and caution. When someone lacks power, their reliance on others for protection can often lead to their downfall. It is best then to have no attachments so that there can be no vulnerability, to eliminate all opponents as thoroughly as possible. To defeat them all would display an absolute mastery over one's world. Instead of just killing those who oppose us, it might even make more sense to also destroy those who we do not fear so they know our strength and stay obedient. In other words, crush anyone whom you think has the potential power to hurt or fight against you someday in order to keep them from ever rising up again. Conclusion. Being powerful does not mean being manipulative, uncaring, and selfish. Being powerful is about leading people with conviction. It's about being able to understand the needs and wants of others and taking the time to listen. It's about understanding how you can help someone else achieve their goals by using your own abilities in a way that will benefit them the most. And it's about recognizing when it's time to make sacrifices for others because they are worth sacrificing for. A man who truly understands this doesn't need any more strategies on how to gain power. He has all he needs already inside him. A quick recap of the laws. Law 1. Plan all the way to the end. Never make decisions without considering how your actions will affect future events, especially ones you're less likely to witness firsthand. Carefully weigh both the short-term and long-term consequences of what you're doing now, so that if you have a goal or vision for yourself or those around you, then everything becomes easier. Law 2. Get others to play with the cards that you deal. Learn how to be an excellent negotiator. Learn what your assets are and how you can use them so that people feel they have no choice but to agree with you or give you what you want. Whether it's information, connections, knowledge, or time management skills, get good at giving other people things that will bring them closer to achieving their goals. Law 3. Work on the hearts and minds of others. Know when to push someone and know when to back off. Know when silence is golden, and sometimes it's better just to say I don't know. The best negotiators know that sometimes the smartest thing they can do is nothing at all. The heart knows what the head forgets, especially how good we feel after helping someone out. They might not remember our name, but they'll remember that day when we stopped to offer our help. There's always an opportunity to work on someone else's heart and mind, even if it means putting down some work or chores for a few minutes and chatting with someone nearby. Helping others helps us too, in ways we might never imagine. Law 4. Always say less than necessary. If you communicate too much, then you're going to put yourself in a position where what you say won't mean much. The more information you give people, the less valuable it becomes. When speaking with someone, always try to leave some things unsaid and imply many things that aren't explicitly stated. People will fill in these gaps with their imagination, and your message will be far stronger for it. Law 5. Get others to do the work for you. Asking for favors from others is a subtle yet effective way to earn respect. There's great power in making someone feel like you've done something special for them. Asking for favors shows that you value someone and their time, which will often lead to reciprocal behavior. Seek opportunities to do something nice or helpful without asking anything in return. Over time, people will start offering assistance when they see you coming. Law 6. Make people come to you. Whatever you do, don't go to them. The minute you start chasing people around and begging for attention, they become the pursuer and you become the pursued. This can be a tough one, but it's crucial. Don't go to others. Let them come to you. When people see that they're following their own will and seeking you out, they feel respected and honored and will follow your lead with more enthusiasm than if you had begged for their attention in the first place. Law 7. Win through actions, not words. What does this mean? It means that when you take the time to act, rather than talk about it, people will notice and pay attention. This makes them believe in what you're saying and in what you want to accomplish. So next time you feel the urge to complain or just vent, take a moment and think about whether or not there's something that you could do right now to make a positive difference in someone else's life. Law 8. Use selective honesty to disarm your victim. Be honest with people when they expect it and lie when they don't. This is called selective honesty. By only telling people what you think will get them to do what you want, or telling them what they need to hear, you build their confidence in you and trust in your words. Most importantly, selective honesty prevents people from seeing the whole picture and getting wise to your motives. Your intentions may seem unclear, but through selective honesty, eventually, everything will fall into place for the greater good. Law 9. Crush your enemy totally. A quote by Mao Zedong says, "If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles." If you know yourself but not the enemy, for every victory gained you will also suffer a defeat. If you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb in every battle. This is an important law because when we deal with people we are in competition with them for resources and power.